In today's story, we dive deep into a tale of love, betrayal, and the path to redemption. Meet Ethan Parker, a meticulous data analyst from Boston, whose life takes an unexpected turn when he discovers his longtime girlfriend, Olivia Bennett, has been unfaithful. Join us as we explore their emotional journey, the challenges they face, and the powerful lessons they learn about forgiveness, trust, and the true meaning of love. Stay tuned for an inspiring narrative that reminds us all of the strength it takes to rebuild and the hope that can emerge from the darkest times. Ethan Parker had always been the type of man who valued meticulous planning and clear outcomes. As a data analyst at a thriving tech company in Boston, he approached his personal life with the same level of precision and attention to detail that he applied to his professional projects. This weekend, he had something monumental planned, something that would change his life forever: a marriage proposal to Olivia Bennett, his girlfriend of 3 years. It was a chilly Friday evening in October 2023. The autumn air had a crispness that heralded the approaching winter, and the streets of Beacon Hill were slick with a light drizzle that had been falling steadily throughout the day. Ethan sat in his modest, well-organized apartment overlooking the rain-slicked streets. His apartment was a reflection of his personality, neat, tidy, and efficiently arranged. The shelves were lined with books on data science and philosophy, his kitchen was spotless, and even the cushions on his couch were perfectly aligned. On the coffee table in front of him lay the focal point of his meticulously planned weekend: a small velvet box containing a beautiful sapphire ring encircled by diamonds. He had chosen sapphire for its symbolism, wisdom, and fidelity, qualities he cherished and believed defined his relationship with Olivia. The ring was a testament to his love and commitment, and he had spent months saving for it and selecting the perfect one. Ethan's mind drifted back to the day he met Olivia. It was at a volunteer event organized by a local nonprofit. Ethan had always been passionate about giving back to the community, and this particular event had been aimed at providing meals for the homeless. Olivia had been assigned to the same team as Ethan, and from the moment he saw her, he was captivated by her vibrant laughter and genuine warmth. She was the kind of person who lit up any room she entered, and her passion for helping others was evident in everything she did. Olivia worked as a social worker, dedicating her days to making a difference in the lives of those who needed it most. Her compassion and dedication were qualities Ethan deeply admired, and it wasn't long before they found themselves spending more and more time together, both at volunteer events and outside of them. They shared a love for hiking, exploring new restaurants, and quiet evenings with a good book. Over time, their bond grew stronger, and Ethan knew he had found someone special in Olivia. But lately, something had shifted. Olivia seemed distant, her usual affectionate gestures were fewer, and her smiles didn't quite reach her eyes. Ethan tried to dismiss his worries, attributing her change in behavior to stress from work or personal issues she hadn't yet shared with him. He wanted to believe that everything was fine, but a nagging doubt kept creeping into his mind. The following day, Olivia was set to return from her girls' trip to Miami, a getaway with her closest friends to unwind and recharge. She had asked Ethan for some space the day she got back, claiming she would be too exhausted from the trip and needed to rest alone. At first, Ethan thought nothing of it. Everyone needed space sometimes. But as he sat there, the ring catching the light from the lamp, doubt began to creep in. His phone buzzed, slicing through the silence of the room. It was a message from Chloe Watson, one of Olivia's friends who had gone on the trip with her. Chloe's name on his screen was unusual enough to tighten the muscles in his stomach. "Hey, Ethan, do you have a minute? There's something important we need to talk about. Can you call me?" the message read. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Chloe was not the type to dramatize without reason. He picked up the phone and dialed her number, his hands slightly trembling. "Ethan, thank you for calling back so quickly." Chloe's voice was tense, a stark contrast to her usual cheerful tone. "What's wrong, Chloe? Is everything okay with Olivia?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Just a few seconds, but long enough for Ethan's mind to race through a myriad of unpleasant possibilities. "It's about Olivia. I wouldn't be calling if it wasn't serious. Look, this might come as a shock, but during the trip, Olivia, she wasn't entirely faithful to you." Chloe finally confessed, her voice a mix of reluctance and resolve. Ethan felt as if the floor had shifted beneath him. What are you talking about, Chloe? What happened? Chloe sighed heavily, and Ethan could almost picture her running a hand through her hair, a nervous habit of hers. I saw Olivia getting a bit too close to a guy at a bar. They were intimate. I thought you should know, especially with your plan to propose next week. The revelation hit Ethan like a physical blow. The room seemed to spin slightly as he tried to process her words. Are you sure, Chloe? It's a big accusation to make. I know, Ethan, and I wouldn't say it if I wasn't absolutely sure. I'm really sorry. I thought you deserved to know before you made any decisions. Ethan hung up the phone, his mind reeling. The ring on the table no longer seemed to symbolize hope and future but rather a painful question mark. He needed answers, and he needed them directly from Olivia. As the Boston skyline blurred into the evening darkness outside his window, Ethan made up his mind to confront the situation head-on. The next conversation with Olivia would be decisive, and he had to brace himself for any outcome. The day Olivia returned from Miami was overcast, the gray clouds mirroring the turmoil in Ethan's heart. He had spent a restless night, turning over Chloe's words in his mind, each iteration fueling his doubt and hurt. Despite his desire to see Olivia, to clear the air as soon as she walked through the door, he honored her request for space and didn't go to her apartment. Instead, he busied himself with work, trying to keep his mind off the impending conversation. Late in the afternoon, his phone lit up with a text from Olivia, back home. Really tired, going to take a long nap. Talk later? Ethan replied with a simple, okay, take your time. Let me know when you're up. His fingers hesitated over the send button, every fiber of his being screaming to confront her now, but he restrained himself. He needed to approach this conversation calmly and with clear evidence. That evening, as the city lights began to twinkle on, Olivia called. Her voice was soft, and she sounded genuinely exhausted. Hey, I just woke up. Can we meet tomorrow? I missed you. Ethan's heart clenched at the familiar, affectionate tone, but he steeled himself. Actually, Olivia, could we meet tonight? There's something important we need to discuss. There was a pause, a hint of confusion in her voice when she replied. Sure, I guess. Is everything okay? We'll talk when I see you. How about we meet at your place in an hour? Okay, Ethan. See you soon, she said, a trace of worry now evident in her voice. Ethan arrived at Olivia's apartment with his thoughts racing. The building, usually welcoming, now seemed like the stage for a pivotal life event. He took the elevator up, practicing his words, trying to strike a balance between seeking truth and showing that he cared, no matter the outcome. Olivia opened the door, her expression a mix of happiness and apprehension. She was in her comfortable home clothes, her hair slightly disheveled from sleep. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Hey, you, she said, stepping aside to let him in. Ethan entered, his gaze involuntarily scanning the familiar space, each item a reminder of the countless moments they had shared. He took a deep breath. Olivia, we need to talk about your trip. Her smile faltered. My trip? What about it? Ethan's heart raced as he decided how to broach the subject. I heard something concerning from Chloe, he began cautiously, watching her reaction closely. Olivia's face changed instantly, her brows furrowed, a flash of anger, or was it fear, crossing her features. Chloe? What did she tell you? That you might have been unfaithful, Ethan said, the words heavy in the air between them. Olivia stepped back as if slapped. What? That's ridiculous. Why would she say that? Ethan watched her closely, searching for any sign of deceit. She seemed pretty certain, Olivia. She said she saw you with someone at a bar, getting too close. Olivia shook her head vigorously, her voice rising slightly in her defense. Ethan, you know how these trips can get. Girls joking around, maybe dancing, but I didn't do anything wrong. You've got to believe me. Her plea, her obvious distress, made Ethan's resolve waver. But he remembered Chloe's conviction. I want to believe you, Olivia, I do. But why would Chloe lie about something like this? Olivia paced a small circle, then stopped, facing him. I don't know, Ethan. I really don't. But you know me. You know I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. Ethan felt the weight of their shared history, the love and trust they had built. But Chloe's words echoed in his mind, a nagging doubt that refused to be silenced. He needed more answers, perhaps proof, before he could decide what his heart and mind could believe. This conversation was just the beginning, not the end, of a journey to uncover the truth. Ethan sat in Olivia's living room, the familiar surroundings now tainted with a sense of uncertainty. The soft glow of the table lamp illuminated the room, casting long shadows that seemed to mirror the doubt in his heart. Olivia had always been the center of his world, her laughter and warmth a beacon in his otherwise meticulously structured life. But now, everything felt precariously balanced on the edge of a knife. As he waited for Olivia to gather her thoughts, Ethan couldn't help but think about the past few months. The signs had been subtle at first, easily dismissed as stress or exhaustion. Olivia had always been a dedicated social worker, often bringing her work home with her in the form of worries and stories about her clients. Ethan admired her dedication, her unyielding desire to help others, but he also knew it took a toll on her. Olivia had always been open about her work, sharing the highs and lows of her day with Ethan. But lately, there had been a change. She became more withdrawn, her stories fewer and her mood more pensive. Ethan had noticed her spending more time alone, claiming she needed space to decompress after particularly tough days. He understood the need for solitude, but he missed the connection they once had, the easy conversations and shared laughter. One evening, Ethan had come home to find Olivia sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the television. Her eyes had a distant look, and when he asked her about her day, she had merely shrugged and given a noncommittal answer. It was so unlike her that it had sent a jolt of worry through him. But when he pressed further, she had brushed him off, saying she was just tired and needed some time alone. Then there was the girls' trip to Miami. Olivia and her friends had planned it for months, a much-needed break from their demanding jobs. Ethan had encouraged her to go, hoping the change of scenery and the company of her friends would lift her spirits. But even as he kissed her goodbye at the airport, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. While Olivia was away, Ethan tried to keep himself busy. He threw himself into his work, stayed late at the office, and even picked up an old hobby, woodworking, to keep his mind occupied. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't stop thinking about Olivia and the distance that seemed to be growing between them. On the night of her return, Ethan had planned to surprise her with a home-cooked meal, hoping to recreate some of the magic they had shared in the early days of their relationship. He spent hours in the kitchen, preparing her favorite dishes and setting the table with candles and fresh flowers. But when he received her text asking for space, his heart sank. He put away the food, extinguished the candles, and sat in the dim light of his apartment, feeling more alone than ever. The message from Chloe had been the final straw. Ethan had always trusted Olivia implicitly, but Chloe's words had planted a seed of doubt that was growing rapidly. As he waited for Olivia to explain, he couldn't help but replay their last few interactions in his mind, searching for clues he might have missed. Olivia finally sat down across from him, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice shaky but determined. Ethan, I know things haven't been the same between us lately, and I owe you an explanation. Ethan nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. Go on. She looked down at her hands, wringing them nervously. I've been feeling a lot of pressure at work, and it's been affecting me more than I realized. I didn't want to burden you with my problems, so I kept it all inside. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. Ethan reached out, taking her hands in his. Olivia, you can always talk to me. I'm here for you. She looked up, her eyes filled with tears. I know, and I'm so sorry for pushing you away. The trip to Miami was supposed to be a break from everything, a chance to clear my head. But things didn't go as planned. Ethan's stomach tightened. What happened in Miami? Olivia took a deep breath, her voice barely above a whisper. I made a mistake, Ethan. I was feeling lost and confused, and I let myself get too close to someone else. It was a moment of weakness, and I regret it deeply. Ethan's heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. Why didn't you tell me? I was scared, Olivia admitted. Scared of losing you, scared of what it would mean for us. I thought I could bury it, that it wouldn't matter because I knew it meant nothing. But I see now how wrong I was. Ethan looked into her eyes, searching for the truth. Do you still love me, Olivia? Yes, she replied without hesitation. I love you more than anything. This mistake doesn't change that. But I understand if you can't forgive me. Ethan let go of her hands and leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. He had always believed in the strength of their relationship, but now he wasn't so sure. The doubt planted by Chloe's words had taken root, and he didn't know if he could ever fully trust Olivia again. I need some time to think, he said finally. I need to figure out what this means for us. Olivia nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. I understand. Take all the time you need. Ethan stood up, feeling a heavy weight on his shoulders. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk. As he walked out of Olivia's apartment, the cool night air hit him like a splash of cold water. He took a deep breath and looked up at the sky, the stars barely visible through the city lights. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, and he wasn't sure if their relationship could survive this. But one thing was certain, he needed to find the answers, both for himself and for Olivia. Ethan left Olivia's apartment feeling a mix of emotions. The confession had hit him hard, but he knew there was still more he needed to understand. He spent the rest of the night pacing his apartment, replaying Chloe's call and Olivia's admission in his mind. The quiet hum of the city outside did little to soothe his racing thoughts. The next morning, the city was shrouded in a blanket of gray clouds, reflecting the turmoil inside Ethan. He had always prided himself on his ability to analyze situations logically, but this was different. His heart and mind were at war, and he needed clarity. He decided to call Chloe again. He needed to hear everything from her perspective, hoping it would provide some insight into Olivia's actions. He dialed her number, his hands steady but his heart pounding in his chest. Ethan, hey, Chloe answered after a few rings, her voice tinged with concern. Hi, Chloe, thank you for talking to me. I need to know more about what happened in Miami, Ethan said, trying to keep his voice calm. Of course, Ethan. I understand, Chloe replied, taking a deep breath. We went to Miami for a break, to relax and have fun. Olivia seemed excited about the trip at first, but as soon as we arrived, I noticed she was a bit off. She was quieter than usual and seemed preoccupied. Ethan listened intently, his mind painting a picture of Olivia in Miami. He could see her there, trying to put on a brave face while battling her inner demons. We went out to a bar one night, just to unwind, Chloe continued. At first, it was all fun and games. We were dancing, laughing, and just enjoying ourselves. But then, Olivia started drinking more than usual. She seemed to be trying to escape something. Ethan's heart ached at the thought of Olivia struggling alone. He wished she had reached out to him instead of turning to alcohol and a stranger. Then what happened? Ethan prompted, his voice barely above a whisper. Chloe sighed. That's when things took a turn. Olivia met this guy at the bar. He was charming and attentive, and Olivia seemed drawn to him. At first, it was just talking and dancing, but as the night went on, they got closer. I saw them kiss, Ethan. It wasn't just a friendly peck, it was passionate. Ethan closed his eyes, trying to process the image Chloe was painting. The Olivia he knew would never do something like that, but then again, everyone had moments of weakness. I tried to talk to her about it the next day, Chloe said, her voice filled with regret. But she brushed it off, saying it was just a mistake and it wouldn't happen again. I didn't want to push her too hard, so I let it go. But when I heard about your plans to propose, I couldn't stay silent. Ethan felt a wave of gratitude toward Chloe. Despite the pain her words caused, he appreciated her honesty and concern for his well-being. Thank you, Chloe. I know this wasn't easy for you. I'm really sorry, Ethan. I just thought you should know before making any big decisions, Chloe replied softly. After hanging up, Ethan sat in silence, his mind reeling from the information. He needed to understand why Olivia had done what she did, and more importantly, if they could move past it. The next few days were a blur. Ethan threw himself into his work, trying to find solace in the numbers and data that had always provided a sense of order in his life. But no matter how hard he tried, thoughts of Olivia and their fractured relationship kept creeping in. Finally, he decided he needed to talk to Olivia again. He needed to hear her side of the story in more detail, to understand her feelings and motivations. He texted her, asking if they could meet at a coffee shop near her apartment. Olivia agreed, and they arranged to meet the next evening. The day dragged on as Ethan anxiously awaited their meeting. When the time finally came, he made his way to the coffee shop, his mind racing with questions. Olivia was already there when he arrived, sitting at a small table in the corner. She looked tired, her eyes reflecting the weight of their recent conversations. Ethan took a deep breath and walked over, determined to get the answers he needed. "Hi, Olivia," he said, sitting down across from her. "Hi, Ethan," she replied, her voice soft. They sat in silence for a few moments, the hum of the coffee shop filling the space between them. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. "Olivia, I need to understand what happened in Miami. I've talked to Chloe, and she told me about the guy at the bar. But I need to hear it from you." Olivia nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I know I hurt you, and I hate myself for it. That night in Miami, I was feeling lost and confused. I felt like I was drowning in my own thoughts, and when I met that guy, it was like a temporary escape." Ethan listened, his heart aching for Olivia. He could see the pain in her eyes, the regret etched into her features. "I drank too much, and I let myself get carried away," Olivia continued, her voice breaking. "I kissed him, and in that moment, I felt a sense of relief from all the pressure I was under. But as soon as it happened, I regretted it. I knew I had made a terrible mistake." Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "Olivia, I believe you when you say you regret it. But why didn't you tell me? Why did you keep it a secret?" "I was scared," Olivia admitted, tears streaming down her face. "I was scared of losing you, of destroying what we had. I thought if I could just forget about it, we could move on and everything would be okay. But I see now that I was wrong." Ethan squeezed her hand, his mind racing with conflicting emotions. He loved Olivia, but the betrayal still stung deeply. "Olivia, I need time to process this. I need to figure out if I can move past it." Olivia nodded, her eyes filled with sorrow. "I understand, Ethan. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, waiting, hoping we can find a way through this." Ethan stood up, his heart heavy with the weight of their conversation. "I'll call you when I'm ready to talk." As he walked out of the coffee shop, the cool evening air hit him, and he took a deep breath. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he was determined to find the answers he needed. Whether they would lead him back to Olivia or down a different path, only time would tell. The days following Ethan's meeting with Chloe were filled with a mix of anticipation and dread. He knew he had to confront Olivia again, but he wanted to make sure he approached the situation with a clear mind and an open heart. He spent his evenings going for long walks through the streets of Boston, hoping the fresh air and the rhythmic sound of his footsteps would help him find clarity. When he finally decided it was time, he called Olivia and asked if they could meet at her apartment. He needed a private setting for what he knew would be a difficult conversation. Olivia agreed, sensing the seriousness in his voice. Ethan arrived at Olivia's apartment in the early evening. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden glow over the city. He took a deep breath and knocked on the door, his heart pounding in his chest. Olivia opened the door, her face a mixture of relief and apprehension. She stepped aside to let him in, and they sat down on the couch, facing each other. The atmosphere was tense, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. "Ethan, thank you for coming," Olivia began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know this isn't easy for you." Ethan nodded, his expression serious. "Olivia, I need to understand everything. I need to know why you did what you did and how you truly feel about us." Olivia took a deep breath, her eyes filling with tears. "I owe you the truth, Ethan. I've been doing a lot of thinking since we last talked, and I realize now how much I've hurt you." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "That night in Miami, I felt completely lost. I was overwhelmed with stress from work, and I didn't know how to cope. When I met that guy, it was like a temporary escape from everything that was weighing me down. I made a terrible mistake, and I regret it more than I can say. Ethan listened intently, his emotions swirling inside him. He could see the pain in Olivia's eyes, and it mirrored his own. "Why didn't you tell me right away?" Ethan asked, his voice steady but filled with hurt. "I was scared," Olivia admitted, her tears flowing freely now. "I was terrified of losing you, of destroying the future we had planned together. I thought if I kept it a secret, we could move past it, and it wouldn't affect us. But I see now that I was wrong. Secrets only create more pain." Ethan nodded, understanding the fear that had driven her actions but still grappling with the betrayal. "Olivia, I appreciate your honesty, but trust is the foundation of any relationship. Without it, we have nothing. How do you expect us to move forward from this?" Olivia reached out, taking his hands in hers. "Ethan, I love you more than anything. I made a horrible mistake, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild the trust I've broken. I'm committed to being open and honest with you from now on, no matter how difficult it may be." Ethan looked into her eyes, searching for sincerity. He could see the regret and the determination in her gaze, but he still felt a lingering doubt. "It's not just about this one incident, Olivia. It's about the future. How can I be sure this won't happen again?" Olivia squeezed his hands, her grip firm. "I know I've given you every reason to doubt me, but I promise you, Ethan, I will never make that mistake again. I'm willing to go to therapy, both individually and as a couple, to work through this. I want to prove to you that I'm worthy of your trust and your love." Ethan's heart ached at the sincerity in her voice. He wanted to believe her, to trust that they could rebuild what had been broken. But he also knew that healing would take time, and he needed space to process everything. "Olivia, I need time to think about all of this," Ethan said, his voice filled with emotion. "I need to figure out if I can truly move past this and rebuild our relationship." Olivia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand, Ethan. Take all the time you need. I'll be here, waiting, and hoping that we can find a way through this together." Ethan stood up, feeling the weight of their conversation pressing down on him. "I'll call you when I'm ready to talk." As he walked out of Olivia's apartment, the cool evening air hit him, and he took a deep breath. The city lights twinkled around him, a stark contrast to the darkness he felt inside. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, and he wasn't sure if their relationship could survive this. But one thing was certain: he needed to find the answers, both for himself and for Olivia. The following days were a blur of emotions for Ethan. He threw himself into his work, trying to find solace in the routine and structure that had always provided comfort. But no matter how hard he tried, thoughts of Olivia and their fractured relationship kept creeping in. One evening, as he sat in his apartment, Ethan decided to reach out to a therapist. He knew he needed help processing his emotions and figuring out the best path forward. He made an appointment and hoped that talking to a professional would provide some much-needed clarity. The first therapy session was tough. Ethan found himself opening up about his fears and doubts, the pain of betrayal, and the uncertainty of the future. The therapist listened patiently, offering gentle guidance and reassurance. Over the next few weeks, Ethan began to see the value in these sessions. He learned that healing wasn't just about moving past the hurt but also about understanding his own needs and boundaries. Meanwhile, Olivia had also started seeing a therapist. She was determined to work on herself, to understand why she had made such a terrible mistake and how she could prevent it from happening again. She wanted to prove to Ethan that she was committed to their relationship and willing to put in the effort to make things right. As the weeks turned into months, both Ethan and Olivia made progress in their individual journeys. They communicated sporadically, sharing updates on their therapy and their thoughts about the future. The conversations were tentative, filled with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Finally, after several months of therapy and self-reflection, Ethan felt ready to meet with Olivia again. He texted her, asking if they could talk, and they arranged to meet at the same coffee shop where they had their first date. As Ethan walked into the coffee shop, he saw Olivia sitting at a small table in the corner. She looked nervous but hopeful, her eyes lighting up when she saw him. Ethan took a deep breath and walked over, feeling a mix of emotions. "Hi, Olivia," he said, sitting down across from her. "Hi, Ethan," she replied, her voice soft. They sat in silence for a few moments, the hum of the coffee shop filling the space between them. Finally, Ethan spoke. "Olivia, these past few months have been incredibly difficult, but they've also been eye-opening," he began. "I've learned a lot about myself and what I need in a relationship. I know now that trust is something that has to be earned, and it takes time." Olivia nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "I've been doing a lot of thinking and working on myself too. I know I've hurt you deeply, and I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to rebuild your trust." Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I still love you, Olivia, but I need to know that we can move forward in a healthy way. I'm willing to try, but it has to be a mutual effort." Olivia squeezed his hand, her eyes shining with hope. "I'm all in, Ethan. I want to build a future with you, one based on honesty and trust." As they sat there, holding hands and talking about their hopes for the future, Ethan felt a sense of relief. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, but he was willing to face it with Olivia by his side. They had both grown and learned from their experiences, and now it was time to start rebuilding their relationship, one step at a time. After their emotional conversation at the coffee shop, Ethan and Olivia agreed to take some time apart to reflect on their relationship and their individual needs. They both understood that healing would require patience and introspection, and they needed to be sure that they were making the right decisions for their future. Ethan spent the first few weeks focusing on himself. He continued his therapy sessions, diving deeper into his emotions and the impact Olivia's actions had on him. He also reconnected with old friends, seeking their support and perspective. These interactions helped him gain clarity and reminded him of the importance of self-care and maintaining a strong support network. One crisp Saturday morning, Ethan decided to revisit one of his favorite hiking trails just outside Boston. The trail wound through a dense forest, leading to a serene lake that had always brought him a sense of peace. As he hiked, he let his mind wander, contemplating the journey he had been on over the past few months. He remembered the early days of his relationship with Olivia, the excitement and joy they had shared. He thought about their shared interests, the way they complemented each other, and the deep bond they had formed. But he also acknowledged the challenges they had faced, the moments of miscommunication, and the growing distance that had ultimately led to their current situation. As he reached the lake, Ethan sat down on a large rock by the shore, watching the sunlight dance on the water's surface. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill his lungs. In that moment, he realized that while the pain of betrayal still lingered, he also felt a glimmer of hope. He understood that healing was a process, and he was willing to take it one step at a time. Meanwhile, Olivia was going through her own journey of self-discovery. She had continued her therapy sessions and had joined a support group for people who had made similar mistakes in their relationships. Hearing the stories of others and sharing her own experiences helped her gain a deeper understanding of her actions and their consequences. Olivia also spent time with her family, seeking their guidance and support. They had always been a source of strength for her, and their unconditional love gave her the courage to face her mistakes and work towards making amends. She took up journaling, writing down her thoughts and feelings as a way to process her emotions and track her progress. One evening, as Olivia sat in her apartment, she decided to write a letter to Ethan. She poured her heart into the letter, expressing her deep regret for her actions and her commitment to rebuilding their relationship. She acknowledged the pain she had caused and promised to be honest and transparent moving forward. Writing the letter was a cathartic experience, allowing her to articulate her feelings and intentions clearly. After finishing the letter, Olivia decided not to send it right away. Instead, she kept it as a reminder of her commitment to change and to show Ethan when the time was right. She wanted their next conversation to be honest and heartfelt, and she hoped the letter would help convey her sincerity. As weeks turned into months, both Ethan and Olivia found themselves growing stronger individually. They each developed new hobbies and interests, finding joy in activities they had neglected during the turmoil of their relationship. Ethan took up painting, a hobby he had always wanted to explore but had never found the time for. Olivia started taking yoga classes, finding solace in the practice of mindfulness and physical well-being. Their occasional messages to each other were filled with updates on their personal growth and reflections on their journey. They avoided discussing their relationship directly, allowing each other the space to heal and grow. This time apart was not only helping them to process their emotions but also to rediscover themselves as individuals. One sunny afternoon, Ethan received a text from Olivia. "I've been thinking a lot about us and our future. When you're ready, I'd love to have a conversation about where we go from here." Ethan read the message several times, feeling a mixture of anxiety and hope. He knew the time had come for them to address their relationship directly and decide if they could rebuild it together. He texted back, suggesting they meet at a park near Olivia's apartment, a place where they had shared many happy memories. On the day of their meeting, Ethan arrived at the park early. The air was warm, and the park was bustling with people enjoying the beautiful weather. He found a quiet spot under a large oak tree, the branches providing a canopy of shade. As he waited for Olivia, he took in the sights and sounds around him, feeling a sense of calm. Olivia arrived a few minutes later, looking both nervous and determined. She walked over to Ethan, and they greeted each other with a tentative smile. They sat down on a bench under the tree, the atmosphere filled with a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty. "Thank you for meeting me, Ethan," Olivia began, her voice steady but emotional. "I've spent a lot of time reflecting on everything, and I want to share my thoughts with you." Ethan nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. "I'm ready to listen, Olivia." She took a deep breath and began to speak, recounting her journey of self-discovery and the lessons she had learned. She talked about her therapy sessions, the support group, and the steps she had taken to understand and address her mistakes. She shared how she had grown as a person and how deeply she regretted the pain she had caused. "I know words alone can't fix what I've broken," Olivia said, her eyes filled with sincerity. "But I'm committed to showing you through my actions that I'm worthy of your trust and love. I want us to rebuild our relationship on a foundation of honesty and transparency." Ethan listened intently, his emotions a whirlwind of hope, doubt, and love. When Olivia finished speaking, he took a moment to gather his thoughts before responding. "Olivia, I've also been on a journey of self-discovery," Ethan began. "I've learned a lot about myself and what I need in a relationship. Trust is something that has to be earned, and I appreciate the steps you've taken to address your mistakes. I still love you, and I believe in the potential of our relationship, but I need to be sure that we're both committed to making it work." Olivia nodded, her eyes shining with hope. "I am, Ethan. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes." Ethan reached into his bag and pulled out the letter Olivia had written. "I found this in my mailbox yesterday. I've read it several times, and it means a lot to me. I can see your sincerity and your willingness to change." Olivia's eyes widened in surprise. "I didn't send that letter. I must have accidentally dropped it when I was at your place last time." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of fate at play. "Well, it found its way to me. And it helped me realize that we have a chance to rebuild our relationship, but we need to take it one step at a time." They spent the next few hours talking openly and honestly, sharing their hopes, fears, and dreams for the future. They discussed the practical steps they could take to rebuild trust, including continued therapy, setting boundaries, and prioritizing open communication. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park, Ethan and Olivia stood up, feeling a sense of renewed hope. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but they were willing to face it together. Hand in hand, they walked out of the park, ready to embark on the next chapter of their relationship. After Ethan and Olivia decided to take some time apart to reflect and work on themselves, Ethan knew he needed additional support to understand his emotions and how to rebuild trust. He continued his therapy sessions with Dr. Helen, who helped him delve deeper into the impact of Olivia's actions and how he could move forward. Dr. Helen guided Ethan through the complex emotions he was experiencing. She helped him realize that betrayal not only shattered trust but also caused him to question his self-worth and his ability to judge relationships accurately. Through their sessions, Ethan learned that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting but about freeing himself from resentment and pain. In one therapy session, Dr. Helen encouraged Ethan to write a letter to himself, expressing the emotions he had been feeling since discovering Olivia's infidelity. Ethan spent time writing about his pain, anger, and doubts, but also about the hopes and dreams he had for their future. This exercise allowed him to face his emotions honestly and directly, helping him move closer to acceptance and healing. Meanwhile, Olivia continued her own therapy with a different therapist. She worked on understanding her motivations and why she had betrayed Ethan. She learned to recognize and manage her negative emotions, and she committed to becoming a better person not only for Ethan but also for herself. Olivia also joined a support group for people who had made similar mistakes in their relationships. There, she met others with similar experiences and shared her story. Listening to their stories and receiving support from people who understood her situation made Olivia feel less alone and more confident in her ability to change. After several months, Ethan and Olivia began attending couples counseling sessions together. In these sessions, they learned how to communicate more effectively and understand each other's needs and desires better. They practiced active listening skills and learned how to resolve conflicts constructively. One of the exercises Dr. Helen gave them was for each person to write a letter to the other, expressing what they loved and appreciated about each other, as well as what they hoped to improve in their relationship. Ethan and Olivia took this exercise seriously, pouring their hearts into their letters. Ethan wrote about how much he admired Olivia's dedication to her work and her compassion for others. He expressed his love for her vibrant personality and the joy she brought into his life. But he also wrote about his hurt and the need for transparency and honesty moving forward. He wanted to rebuild their relationship on a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Olivia's letter was filled with regret and apologies. She wrote about how much she loved Ethan and how deeply she regretted her actions. She acknowledged the pain she had caused and expressed her commitment to change. She promised to be more open and honest, to work on her communication skills, and to prioritize their relationship. When they exchanged letters in their next session, it was an emotional moment for both of them. Reading each other's words allowed them to see the depth of their feelings and the sincerity of their intentions. It was a pivotal moment in their journey toward healing. As part of their counseling, Dr. Helen also recommended that they set specific goals for their relationship. These goals included regular check-ins to discuss their feelings, setting aside quality time for each other, and continuing their individual and couples therapy sessions. They agreed to hold each other accountable and to be patient with the process. One weekend, Ethan suggested they go on a short trip together to a nearby town they had always wanted to visit. It was an opportunity to spend quality time together, away from the daily stresses and distractions. Olivia agreed, and they planned a weekend getaway. The trip was a mix of relaxation and reflection. They explored the charming town, enjoyed meals at local restaurants, and had long conversations about their hopes and fears. The change of scenery and the time spent together helped them reconnect and reminded them of the love they shared. During one of their long walks through the town, Ethan and Olivia found a quiet spot by a river. They sat down on a bench, and Ethan took Olivia's hand. "Olivia, I know we've been through a lot, and there's still a long way to go," Ethan said, looking into her eyes. "But I believe in us. I believe we can rebuild our relationship and come out stronger on the other side." Olivia squeezed his hand, her eyes filling with tears. "I believe in us too, Ethan. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to make this work. I love you, and I'm so sorry for everything." Ethan leaned in and kissed her gently, feeling a sense of hope and determination. They had faced their challenges head-on, and while the journey was far from over, they were ready to tackle it together. Returning from their trip, Ethan and Olivia continued to work on their relationship with renewed commitment. They attended their therapy sessions, followed through on their goals, and made a conscious effort to communicate openly and honestly. Each day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities for growth and understanding. As they navigated their path forward, Ethan and Olivia learned to appreciate the small victories and the progress they made. They celebrated their successes and supported each other through the difficult moments. Their love for each other deepened, and they began to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. Ethan and Olivia knew that their relationship would never be the same as it was before the betrayal. But they also knew that they had the power to create something new, something stronger and more resilient. Together, They faced their past, embraced the present, and looked forward to a future filled with hope and possibility. After months of individual and couples therapy, Ethan and Olivia both felt they had reached a point where they needed to have a definitive conversation about their future. Their journey had been long and challenging, but it had also been transformative. They had grown individually and as a couple, learning valuable lessons about themselves and their relationship. One sunny afternoon, Ethan texted Olivia, suggesting they meet at the same park where they had shared many of their important conversations. Olivia agreed, feeling a mix of nervousness and hope. They both knew this meeting would be crucial in determining the future of their relationship. As Ethan walked to the park, he felt a sense of calm. He had spent the past months reflecting on his feelings and working through his pain. He knew that whatever the outcome of their conversation, he was stronger and more self-aware than before. He had found a new sense of purpose and clarity in his life, and he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Olivia arrived at the park first, sitting on a bench under a large oak tree. She had chosen this spot deliberately, as it was where they had shared many happy moments in the past. She hoped the familiarity and the beauty of the surroundings would help ease the tension of their conversation. When Ethan arrived, he saw Olivia sitting there, looking thoughtful and serene. He walked over and sat down beside her, offering a warm smile. "Hi, Olivia." "Hi, Ethan," she replied, her voice steady but filled with emotion. They sat in silence for a few moments, taking in the sights and sounds of the park around them. It was a beautiful day, with children playing, birds singing, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. The tranquility of the scene contrasted sharply with the weight of the conversation they were about to have. Ethan took a deep breath and began, "Olivia, these past few months have been incredibly challenging, but they've also been eye-opening. I've learned a lot about myself and what I need in a relationship. I've also seen how much effort you've put into changing and growing, and I appreciate that." Olivia nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Ethan, I know I've made terrible mistakes, and I'm deeply sorry for the pain I've caused you. I've worked hard to understand my actions and to become a better person. I love you, and I want to rebuild our relationship if you're willing to give us another chance." Ethan looked into her eyes, searching for the sincerity he had come to recognize in their therapy sessions. "Olivia, I still love you too. But rebuilding our relationship means more than just loving each other. It means committing to honesty, transparency, and ongoing effort from both of us." Olivia squeezed his hand, her grip firm and reassuring. "I'm committed to that, Ethan. I want to be open and honest with you, and I want to build a future together that's based on trust and mutual respect." Ethan felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had been afraid of this conversation, worried that they might not be able to find common ground. But Olivia's words and actions had shown him that she was sincere in her desire to make things right. "I believe we can do this, Olivia," Ethan said, his voice filled with conviction. "But we need to take it one step at a time. We need to continue our therapy, set realistic goals, and communicate openly about our feelings and needs." Olivia nodded, tears of relief and joy streaming down her face. "I agree, Ethan. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to rebuild our relationship. I want us to move forward together, stronger and more connected than ever." They spent the next hour talking about their hopes and plans for the future. They discussed the importance of maintaining their individual growth while nurturing their relationship. They set specific goals for their continued therapy and agreed to regular check-ins to ensure they were staying on track. Ethan and Olivia also talked about the practical aspects of their relationship. They decided to move in together again, but with a renewed commitment to creating a healthy and supportive living environment. They made plans to continue their hobbies and interests, both individually and as a couple, to ensure they maintained a balanced and fulfilling life. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the park, Ethan and Olivia stood up, feeling a sense of renewed hope and determination. They knew the road ahead would be challenging, but they were ready to face it together. Hand in hand, they walked out of the park, ready to embark on the next chapter of their relationship. They had faced their past, embraced the present, and looked forward to a future filled with hope and possibility. Ethan and Olivia continued their journey of healing and growth, celebrating their small victories and supporting each other through the difficult moments. They learned to appreciate the strength and resilience they had developed, both individually and as a couple. With each passing day, they grew closer, building a relationship that was stronger and more resilient than ever before. They faced their challenges head-on, knowing that their love and commitment would guide them through whatever came their way. Together, Ethan and Olivia discovered the true meaning of love, forgiveness, and the power of second chances. They had learned that rebuilding trust and healing from betrayal was possible with patience, effort, and a shared commitment to growth and honesty. As they walked into their future, hand in hand, they knew that they had the strength and determination to overcome any obstacle. Their love had been tested, but it had emerged stronger, a testament to their resilience and the power of their bond. Ethan and Olivia's story was a reminder that true love is not about perfection, but about the willingness to face challenges together, to grow and evolve, and to always strive for a deeper connection. Their journey was far from over, but they were ready to face it with hope, love, and unwavering commitment. As we conclude this poignant tale of Ethan and Olivia, we are reminded of the transformative power of love and forgiveness. Through their journey, Ethan and Olivia faced immense challenges, yet they chose to confront their pain and grow from it. Their story teaches us that while betrayal can shatter trust, with patience, effort, and an unwavering commitment to honesty, it is possible to rebuild a stronger, more resilient relationship. Ethan and Olivia's path was not easy, but their determination to heal and their willingness to support each other through every step made all the difference. Their love, tested by adversity, emerged more profound and steadfast, proving that second chances can lead to a deeper understanding and a more meaningful connection. Thank you for joining us on this journey of redemption, and may Ethan and Olivia's story inspire you to believe in the power of love and the possibility of new beginnings.